Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Paying homage to the Blessed One, the Supremely Enlightened Buddha. Sadhu. Paying homage to my teacher of following. Sadhu. You can remember the sutta you were studying last time. It is from the Majjhima Nikaya. Name of the sutta is Cūḷataṇhāsaṅkhaya Sutta, and we discussed about the opening explanation about the deep Dhamma exposition explained by the Buddha in reply to a question asked by Lord of Gods, Sakka. So as you can see here, the Sakka, Lord of Gods, went up to the Buddha, bowed to one side and said to the Blessed One, Bhante, how do you briefly define a mendicant, a monk who is freed through the ending of craving? Bhikkhu sankhittena tanha sankhaya vimutto hoti, who has reached the ultimate end, achanta nitto, the ultimate sanctuary, achanta yoga kemi, the ultimate spiritual life, achanta brahmachari, the ultimate goal, achanta paryosano, and is best among gods and humans, setto deva manussana. So the Buddha gave the answer to that question. Lord of Gods, it is when a monk has heard Sabbe dhamma nalang abhinivesaya, nothing is worth insisting on. Right? One should not cling to anything in this world. When a monk has heard that nothing is worth insisting on, he directly knows all things. So sabban dhammam abhijanati. Directly knowing all things, he completely understands all things. All things here means all the conditioned things. About like all the objects or forms or that is made of four great elements: earth element, water element, air element, heat element, and also form aggregate, rupa upadana-khandha, vedana upadana-khandha, feeling aggregate, perception aggregate, sanya upadana-khandha, sankhara upadana-khandha, aggregate of formations, and consciousness, the aggregate of consciousness, vijnana upadana-khandha. They are also conditioned things. And all the six sense bases, internal sense bases, external sense bases, everything that has an arising and passing away. Sabbang dhammang means all the conditioned things. Sabbang dhammang pariññāya, having understood all the conditioned things. So the meaning of understanding them means understanding the arising, understanding the passing away, understanding the gratification of all those conditioned things, understanding the drawbacks, and understanding the escape. Did you understand that? So understanding the arising of conditioned things means samudaya. Okay. Understanding the cessation of all the conditioned things means atthangama. understanding the gratification of all the conditioned things. Gratification means even though they are conditioned, even though they are impermanent, they still provide some kind of happiness, entertainment, enjoyment. So in the process of understanding all the aspects of conditioned things, a practitioner should understand that part as well, the gratification part. That is asada. Understanding adina, the drawbacks of all the conditioned things. Drawbacks means that they are impermanent, they lead to pain and misery, attachment and desires for conditioned things bring more suffering to life, more stress, more depression, more anxiety. All these negative qualities are involved in those desires, right? So that is seeing all those aspects of the drawbacks aspect is the adinava. And then nissarana, understanding the escape from the conditioned things. And Buddha explains the way to escape from conditioned things and also all the pain and misery associated with the conditioned things is to give up desire, abandon desire, letting go of desire. That is nissarana. So understanding everything, sabbang dhammang pariññāya means understanding all those aspects of arising, passing away, gratification, drawbacks, and the escape. And they have been very clearly and profoundly explained by the Buddha in the suttas. How to understand all those aspects, right? So it's even though it's a one word called pariññāya, it has a very broad meaning. So when one understands the arising, passing away, gratification, drawbacks, and escape of a certain element or an object or a phenomenon, that means that the individual has understood everything about that specific thing or that phenomenon. Sabban dhammang pariññāya yankinchi vedanang vedeti. You can see here, Buddha teaches, having understood everything, when he experiences any kind of feeling, sukhang va, dukkhang va, dukkham sukhang va, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, he meditates observing impermanence. So tasu vedanasu aniccanupassī viharati. He meditates observing this passion. Virāgānupassī viharati. He meditates observing cessation. Nirodhānupassī viharati. He meditates observing letting go in those feelings. Patinissagganupassī viharati. That is a very, very deep understanding. In order to learn more about these impermanence, means a very deep meaning there. So we are going to learn more about the understanding impermanence of feelings. So for that, I'm going to use another sutta. So here Buddha teaches, Tisso ima bhikkhave vedana. Monks, there are these three feelings, three kinds of feelings. What three? Sukha vedana, pleasant feeling. Dukkha vedana, painful feeling. Adukkhama sukha vedana, neutral feeling. Sukhaya bhikkhave vedana raganusayo pahatabbu. So in order to escape from craving, because craving is the cause of suffering, right? So the craving for the conditioned things, and eventually all the conditioned things lead to these feelings. The ignorance towards these conditioned things leads to the craving or rejection or delusion of all the feelings. So in order to abandon craving, Buddha teaches here, Sukhaya Vedanaya Raganusaya Upahatabbo. The underlying tendency to greed or craving should be given up when it comes to pleasant feeling. When we experience a pleasant feeling, happy feeling, we see something beautiful, we hear something nice, we smell something nice, we taste something delicious, we feel something comfortable. Do you have any idea that we have to abandon the raganusaya, the underlying tendency to craving associated with this feeling? Do you have any idea? That is the ignorance of this cycle, of this journey. We just superficially see the pleasant feeling and we are attached to that pleasant feeling and we want to live with that pleasant feeling forever. That's why a Buddha should arise in this world and explain the hidden truth of every experience that we claim as mine, I am, myself. It's an amazing wisdom. Buddha had that amazing wisdom to analyze everything, each and every part of feelings, perceptions, and all the experiences. So now you understand the importance of developing mindfulness and awareness when it comes to the pleasant feelings, because it's not just a bare pleasant feeling that we can hold on to. We can consider mine, I am, or myself. We have a task to do there, right? What is the task? The underlying tendency to greed or craving should be given up when it comes to pleasant feeling. It's very difficult. Somebody has to understand lots of Dhamma, deep Dhamma, Paticca Samuppada, the dependent origination, cause and effect mechanism, causality. Somebody has to understand all of these things, and then only one gets the opportunity to work on abandoning raga anusaya, underlying tendency to greed or craving towards pleasant feelings, right? So that is the importance of studying these suttas, learning them, discussing them, listening to the Dhamma talks. These things are very helpful. And then, Dukkhaya Vedanaya Patiganasaya Upahatabbo. The Buddha explains, painful feelings are not just painful feelings as we understand. Do we have any idea that there is underlying tendency to repulsion or aversion towards painful feelings when we go through some difficult times in our life? We don't have any idea. We completely hold on to that unpleasant feeling and we accept that unpleasant feeling as mine. I am myself. And we try to identify ourselves within that feeling. But there is a task to be done when it comes to the painful feeling. What is that task? The underlying tendency to aversion or repulsion should be given up when it comes to the painful feeling. That is the wisdom of the Buddha. If we don't do that, the underlying tendency to aversion, patighanusaya, will generate more bad karma in our life. And our samsaric journey will be prolonged. Can you just imagine how these three kinds of feelings make our journey, endless journey, bringing all these problems to our life? Just three types of feelings. Actually, not the three types of feelings. That's not the problem. Problem is our ignorance. Problem is not knowing the Four Noble Truths. Because of not knowing the Four Noble Truths, the underlying tendency to craving continues, the underlying tendency to aversion continues, and the underlying tendency to delusion or ignorance continues. That is the reason. So once the Four Noble Truths are fully understood, all these three types of tendencies behind each feeling, these underlying tendencies are cut off and fully abandoned. Feelings are there as usual, but what is absent is the underlying tendency. And you will see this very beautifully explained by the Buddha, because even enlightened people, enlightened beings, liberated beings also experience feelings, same feelings as we experience, pleasant, painful, and neutral feelings. They also experience these feelings. But what is the difference? There is no underlying tendency to craving towards the pleasant feelings. There is no underlying tendency to aversion towards painful feelings. There is no underlying tendency to ignorance towards neutral feelings. That is the difference. Because of the absence of these underlying tendencies, there is no dependent origination in their life. Everything has ceased. All the causes for suffering has ceased. Nirodha. Nirvana has been achieved. So there is no arrangement of karma anymore. With the cessation of karma comes the cessation of rebirth. So that is how that life becomes their final life. All the feelings are cool in that final life. So Buddha explains here about the Adukkhamasukkhaya Vedanaya Avijjanusayo Pahatabbo. So the third type of feeling is the neutral feeling, neither unpleasant nor pleasant feeling. And it is not just a bare feeling that we should ignore or just enjoy. There is a task to be done when it comes to a neutral feeling. And what is that task? Avijjanusayo pahatabbo. The underlying tendency to ignorance should be given up. And then Buddha teaches us, when a practitioner has given up these underlying tendencies, he is called a monk without underlying tendencies, who sees rightly, has cut off craving, untied the fetters, and by rightly comprehending conceit, has made an end of suffering. See the connection between underlying tendencies and suffering? and also the connection between the abandoning of underlying tendencies and the freedom from suffering. When the underlying, see, Buddha clearly explains here, Yatoko bhikkhave bhikkhuno sukhaya vedanaya raganusayo pahino hoti. Once the underlying tendency towards greed has given up, dukkhaya vedanaya patiganusayo pahino hoti. Once the underlying tendency to aversion has given up, adukkhama sukhaya vedanaya avijjanusayo pahino hoti. Once the underlying tendency to ignorance has given up, ayang uchchati bhikkhave bhikkhuno niranu sayo, without underlying tendencies. Samma daso acchenti tanham, who sees rightly, who has cut off craving. Vivattai sangyojana, he has untied the fetters. Remember the fetters, sangyojana, that fetter us to this cycle of birth and death. And all those fetters are untied. Untied means broken. No more fetters. Vivattai sangyojana. Samma mana bhisamaya. When these feelings are not fully comprehended, we identify ourselves within these feelings, and we come to this negative notion of conceit of me, I am, and myself. And that conceit is fully comprehended when these underlying tendencies towards feeling have been given up. And antamakashi dukkhassati, he has made an end of suffering. And Buddha explains further, when you feel pleasure without understanding feeling, the underlying tendency to greed is there. If you don't see the escape. When you feel pain without understanding feeling. Okay, so before we move on. Okay, when you feel pleasure without understanding feeling, the underlying tendency to greed is there if you don't see the escape. So, escape means nissarana, as we learned before. And nissarana comes with the realization of the Four Noble Truths. But before experiencing this nissarana, escape, or abandoning craving for pleasant feelings, if we experience pleasant feelings, there is underlying tendency to craving or greed is there, and the result is that more and more craving, attachment, greediness, whatever negative qualities associated with that underlying tendency to craving will be accumulated. And that is how the new karma is generated. And that supports the continuation of the existence. Same with the painful feeling. Here Buddha explains, when you feel pain without understanding feeling, the underlying tendency to repulsion is there if you don't see the escape. Again, even though we don't understand that there is attachment for painful feeling, when we experience something painful, there is an attachment there. Why? Because we have not experienced the escape from painful feelings. If we haven't achieved the nissarana, the escape, the letting go of painful feeling. We always identify ourselves with that painful feeling, thinking that I am feeling pain, I am sad, I am upset, right? So what happens is that all the negative mental states associated with a painful feeling are going to be accumulated. And they are backed by underlying tendency to aversion. And what are those negative mental states associated with the underlying tendency to aversion towards painful feelings? Anger, hatred, ill will, rejection, disappointment, unsatisfactoriness, sadness, stress, anxiety, depression. You see all the causes of suffering widely spoken about in the world. All those negative mental states are the result of underlying tendency to aversion towards a painful feeling. Because we haven't given up. We haven't achieved Nissarana. See, if you don't see the escape, the underlying tendency to repulsion is there. Then Buddha teaches about the adukkhamu sukha. As for that peaceful, neutral feeling, he of vast wisdom has taught that if you relish it, you are still not released from suffering. Okay, adukkhama sukhang santang bhuri panyena desitang. Bhuri panya means the one with vast wisdom, means the Buddha. Okay, the Buddha has preached, if you have not abandoned the underlying tendency towards neutral feeling and you relish it, you find some enjoyment in the neutral feeling, you are still not released from suffering. Neva dukkha pamucchati. Because there is an underlying tendency when it comes to a neutral feeling as well. So you understand the difference between these feelings? Pleasant feeling, you understand, right? Happy feeling. And you understand the painful feeling. Isn't there any other feeling beside these two main feelings? There is. That is neither pleasant nor unpleasant, which is neutral. And neutral feeling also should be understood. You cannot abandon the feelings. This is very important. You have to understand this. You cannot abandon the feelings. Even after you become enlightened, you are going to feel feelings. You are going to experience feelings. You cannot abandon the feelings. What do you abandon? Defilements associated with our ignorance. When we experience something, these defilements are going to create the problems in our life, not the feelings themselves. And Buddha teaches, but when a monk is keen, not neglecting situational awareness, athapi sampajanam, that astute person, that wise person, understands all feelings. Completely understanding feelings, they are without defilements in this very life. See, they are means the enlightened ones. That knowledge master is firm in principle. Kayasa bheda dhammatto, when their body breaks up, they can't be reckoned. They can't be reckoned means they attain final nibbana. There is no place for them to be reborn. Okay, so that is about the danger of not understanding the true nature of feelings. And that is from, if you like to read again, that is from the Pahana Sutta from Sanyutta And then we go to another sutta to learn more about feelings. And this is Samadhi Sutta from Sanyutta And here Buddha teaches, Samadhiṃ bhikkhave bhavet. Oh monks, meditate. Develop concentration. develop jhanas. Samahito bhikkhave bhikkhu yatha bhutaṃ bhajanati. The monk with a concentrated mind understands things as they really are. Samahito bhikkhave bhikkhu yatha bhutaṃ bhajanati. And here we are going to discuss only the explanation about the feeling. Okay, a person with a concentrated mind understands as they really are. That's what the Buddha said. And what do they understand? Buddha explained they understand this. Rupassa samudayancha thangamancha, the arising and passing away of form, physical element. Vedanaya samudayancha thangamancha, the person with a concentrated mind understands the arising and passing away of feelings. Saññāya samudayancha thangamancha, he understands with the concentrated mind the arising and passing away of perceptions. Saṅkhārānaṅ samudayancha thangamancha, he understands with the concentrated mind the arising and passing away of formations. Viññānasa samudayancha thangamancha, he understands the arising and passing away of the consciousness with a concentrated mind. Now you understand the meaning of Vipassana. Concentrated mind means samatha. One pointed, unified, tranquilized mind, right? Samahito bhikkhave bhikkhu, and you have a concentrated mind. What is the purpose of it? People ask, why should we meditate? What is the purpose? It's just to gain some relaxation. Is that the only purpose? And then we tell them, no, that's not the only purpose. That is a byproduct of meditation. The Buddha explains the real purpose of meditation. Samahito bhikkhave bhikkhu yatha bhutaṃ bhajanati. So concentrated mind enables you to see things as they really are. Yatha bhuta, as they really are, of conditioned things. And what is the meaning of as they really are? Samudayancha thangamancha, arising and the passing away. Now comes the Vipassana part. Vipassana means yatha bhuta jnana, seeing things as they really are. Vipassana is a synonym for yatha bhuta jnana. So what do you understand here with your Vipassana knowledge as the arising and passing away of Vedana? That's what we are going to learn here. Okay, he understands the origin of feeling. And what is the origin of feeling? Ida bhikkhave bhikkhu abhinandati abhivadati ajjosaya titthati. It is when a monk approves, welcomes, and keeps clinging. What does he approve, welcome, and keep clinging to? He approves, welcomes, and keeps clinging to feeling. Vedanaṃ abhinandati abhivadati ajjosaya titthati. You understand how this underlying tendency to craving supports the remaining process of clinging. Because of that underlying tendency to pleasant feeling, the person who experiences the pleasant feeling approves the pleasant feeling, abhinandati. He welcomes it, abhivadati. Ajjosaya titthati. He keeps clinging to that feeling. That's all that underlying tendency can do. That's where the underlying tendency to craving takes us when we experience a pleasant feeling. Through our eyes, ears, tongue, nose, body, and mind. Isn't it amazing that Buddha realized that cause of suffering is not far away? It's not in somebody's hand. The cause of suffering and end of suffering is not in somebody's hand. is right here in our life. The way we experience a feeling decides our future. This is very profound. So what happens when the person who experiences the pleasant feeling, happy feeling, approves, welcomes, and keeps clinging to that feeling? Tasya vedanang abhinandato abhivadato ajjosaya titthato uppajjati nandi. The result is nandi. Nandi means more desires associated with that pleasant feeling. Think about a moment you experienced a pleasant feeling. Did you just um, forget that, or did you take that pleasant feeling home with you and created more stories behind that, around that pleasant feeling? That's called uppajjati nandi. More desires arise associated with that pleasant feeling. Uppajjati nandi. Ya vedana nandi tadupadana. More desires means more clinging. And it goes into the depth of your heart. Even after a few years, you can still remember that pleasant feeling. And you can still live in that pleasant feeling. It's because upadana. Yan vedana nandi tadupadana. Desires leads to clinging. Remember the dependent origination? Now as the arising of pleasant feeling means understanding the arising of the dependent origination. Samudaya aspect of the cause and effect mechanism. Samudaya means arising. And now we are going to see what is it arising. Okay, now remember how it started? Underlying tendency of craving towards a pleasant feeling. As a result, the person who experiences the pleasant feeling, abhinandati, approves it, abhivadati, welcomes it, like appreciates it, enjoys it, and keeps clinging to that feeling. As a result, uppajjati nandi, more craving, more desires arise. Yavedanaya nandi tadupadanam, and now the person holds on to that the desire linked with that feeling, and it becomes the clinging now. Vedana tanha paccaya upadana. Now you see the links one by one in the dependent origination appear. Tanha paccaya upadana. Same thing. Dependent on that desire or craving, clinging arises. This is how the dependent origination is formulated in our life when we experience a feeling. Even though this has been analyzed to each and every part, it doesn't take even a second for the formulation of this whole thing called dependent origination. Okay? Ya vedana nandi tadu padana. When there is craving for the feeling, the clinging arises. Tasya upadana paccaya bhava. Tasya upadana paccaya bhava. Dependent on that clinging, bhava arises. Bhava means the arranging of karma to be ripened. Arranging of karma arises. Now karma is arranged. Bhava paccaya jati. Dependent on arranging of karma, rebirth arises. When the consciousness is released from this body, future life is already arranged. It doesn't take even a second to go to the next life. That is how the rebirth happens. Okay. Now there is rebirth, right? Jati pacchaya. And what is the result? Jara, maranang. Jara means old age. Maranang means death. Soka means sadness, sorrow, lamentation, parideva, crying, dukkha, physical pain, domanassa, grief, upayasa, stress, this anxiety, depression, sambhavanti. That is the arising of feelings. That is the Vipassana knowledge that one should gain in terms of arising of feelings. That means one should gain the Vipassana knowledge in terms of feelings, that how craving towards pleasant feeling leads to suffering. That is the meaning of arising of feelings. And how each link of dependent origination is come to an effect, giving a new life, bringing more pain and suffering to the life. Didn't that happen to us in our previous life? And now, because this happened in our previous life, we have rebirth. This is our life, rebirth, this new life, right? And after rebirth in this life, jati, what do we experience? Old age, sickness, death, pain, sorrow, crying, lamentation, physical suffering, mental suffering, stress, anxiety, depression, all this suffering. That is the result. And now if you like to understand why this happened to my life, you just go backward here. You just go backward. Bhava pacchaya jati. There was an arranging of karma in my previous life, and that gave rise to rebirth, right? And what is the reason for bhava? And you go backward. Upadana. Clinging. And what is the reason for clinging? Nandi. Craving or desire. And how did that Nandi or desire arise? In previous life, we abhinandati vedana. We approved pleasant feelings. Abhivadati. We appreciated pleasant feelings. Ajhosayatithati. We kept clinging to pleasant feelings in previous lives. Isn't that very profound? And also, you get all the answers for your questions in life, right? Now you don't have any doubts about your past lives. What brought me here? What did I do? How this happened? All the questions are answered. And if you want to know about your future, apply the same thing. It's not secret anymore about your future, about our future. There's no secret. Same principle, okay? And now we go to this to understand the cessation of feeling, the Vipassana knowledge about the cessation of feeling. And there is like more Dhamma in this sutta, but I only select the Vedana section. You can read later. This is Samadhi Bhavana Sutta. Okay. What is the ending? What is the cessation of feeling? You can see here. What is the cessation of? Kocha bhikkhave vedanaya atthangamo. What is the cessation of feeling? This is the answer. The Buddha explains. When a monk does not approve, does not welcome, does not keep clinging to feeling. Ida bhikkhave na abhinandati, na abhivadati, na josaya titthati. What doesn't he approve, welcome, or keep clinging to? He does not approve feeling. He does not welcome feeling. He does not keep clinging to feeling. Right? Now the opposite, right? He does not appreciate pleasant feeling, does not welcome it, does not appreciate it. Tasya vedanang anabhinandato, anabhivadato, anajjosaya titthhato. When he does not approve, does not welcome, does not keep clinging to the feeling, ya vedana nandi sanirujjati. The desire for feeling is abandoned, is ceased, nirujjati. Now the desire is gone. Feeling is there. Desire is gone. Tassa nandi nirodha. Here, Tassa Buddha explains. Tassa nandi nirodha upadana nirodha. Now the cessation of the dependent origination comes to effect. With the cessation of desire or craving comes the cessation of clinging. Upadana nirodho. Now, normally when we learn about dependent origination, we feel like it is something apart from our life, right? And like sometimes we feel like we are learning something far away from our life. It's a different topic or a theme or something like that. But now you can see it is linked with our all experience in our life, right? Like if the dependent origination is formed in every experience of feeling, the dependent origination is not apart from us. Every second, the dependent origination functions. It depends whether it functions in favor of us or in a dangerous way. It depends on how we react to feelings, how we comprehend the feelings, how we contemplate the feelings. And that Buddha explains upadana nirodha bhava nirodha. With the cessation of clinging comes the cessation of arranging of karma. Karma is stopped. No new more arising, no new more arranging of karma. That should be the goal in life, to stop karma. Why? As long as this karma is arranged endlessly, even though we don't like to be reborn, even though we don't like to suffer, the karma will take us wherever it likes. So instead of wishing end of rebirth, we should wish for end of karma. You understand that? Even though we wish for end of rebirth, if there is the arranging of karma endlessly, we cannot gain the end of rebirth. So here Buddha explains how that end of karma comes about. It comes with the cessation of clinging. And then Buddha explains with the cessation of karma comes the cessation of rebirth. With the cessation of rebirth comes the cessation of all the suffering. Suffering is ended. Okay. Now, I think last time, I think Harry asked about the pain experienced by the Ukrainian people and all these things. I think I forgot to mention one more thing, a very important thing, that it is easy to, if we try to analyze these kind of events in terms of dependent origination, we get a very fair answer. And what is the answer? The why we suffer. Why is so much suffering in lives? What is the reason for crying? What is the reason for separation, the pain of separation from loved ones? What is the reason? It is birth. Jati Pachya Jarama. That way, lots of questions are answered. If we analyze problems in life in terms of dependent origination, what is the reason for this suffering? It is birth. It's because we have been born. We are open to all sorts of suffering. So when we think like that, we don't think that that specific suffering is only for those people, only for these people. Why? Because we are also have been born, right? So we don't think, oh, they are the misfortunate people and we are very fortunate people. No, we cannot conclude like that, because they have been born, we have been born. And birth is the cause of suffering. So I just wanted to add that when you see somebody suffering, when you see somebody going through misery, if you can analyze that in the light of dependent origination, you get very clear answers. And so Buddha explains, Eva metasa kevalasa dukkhakkhandasa nirodho hoti. With the cessation of rebirth comes the cessation of all mass of suffering. That is the end of suffering. Sabbang dhammang parijanati means understanding all these things. Now that is the cessation of dependent origination. So let me finish this explanation with this beautiful simile about how now the enlightened person experiences the feelings. Remember the main sutta here? After understanding everything, the result is when he experiences any kind of feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, he meditates observing impermanence. Remember that explanation here? Okay, and this is how it happens. Can somebody read?
Mendicants, there are these 5 faculties. What 5? The faculties of pleasure, pain, happiness, sadness, and equanimity. The faculty of pleasure arises dependent on a contact to be experienced as pleasant. When in a state of pleasure, you understand. It's in the state of pleasure. With the cessation of that contact to be experienced as pleasant, you understand that the corresponding faculty of pleasure ceases and stops. The faculty of pain arises dependent on the contact to be experienced as painful. When in a state of pain, you understand. I'm in a state of pain. With the cessation of that contact to be experienced as painful, you understand that the corresponding faculty of pain ceases and stops. The faculty of happiness arises dependent on a contact to be experienced as happiness. When in a state of happiness, you understand. I'm in a state of happiness. With the cessation of that contact to be experienced as happiness, you understand that the corresponding faculty of happiness ceases and stops. The faculty of sadness arises dependent on a contact to be experienced as sadness. When in a state of sadness, you understand, I'm in a state of sadness. With the cessation of that contact to be experienced as sadness, you understand that the corresponding faculty of sadness ceases and stops. The faculty of equanimity arises dependent on a contact to be experienced as equanimous. When in a state of equanimity, you understand, I'm in a state of equanimity. With the cessation of that contact to be experienced as equanimous, you understand that the corresponding faculty of equanimity ceases and stops.
So now you understand. Okay, we rejoice in your reading, Harry. Now you understand the arising and passing of your feelings, how that enlightened person experiences. He sees the impermanence, how he sees the impermanence, because he sees when the contact ceases, the feeling ceases, right? That's how he understands the feelings. So this is a beautiful example given by the Buddhas, a simile to understand it. Who is going to read?
When you rub two sticks together, heat is generated and fire is produced. But when you part the sticks and lay them aside, any corresponding heat ceases and stops. In the same way, the faculty of pleasure arises dependent on a contact to be experienced as pleasant. When in a state of pleasure, you understand, I'm in a state of pleasure. With the cessation of that contact to be experienced as pleasant, you understand that the corresponding faculty of pleasure ceases and stops. The faculty of pain, happiness, sadness, equanimity arises dependent on a contact to be experienced as equanimous. When in a state of equanimity, you understand, I am in a state of equanimity. With the cessation of that contact to be experienced as equanimous, you understand that the corresponding faculty of equanimity ceases and stops. So,
We rejoice in your reading. So this is the simile of the fire sticks from the Samyutta Nikaya, and that is the meaning of understanding the impermanence. The practitioner understands that all the feelings are born of contact, and that feeling lasts as long as the corresponding contact lasts. And that is what is seen by enlightened disciples. And that is the meaning here in the main sutta. He meditates observing impermanence, right? So that's why I wanted to explain, like, it's impermanence here is just one word, but it has a deep meaning, right? How to see the impermanence. That's what I wanted to highlight here. I explained you through many discourses how to see that impermanence. What is the meaning of arising? What is the meaning of passing away? How to see the arising and passing away? Did you see that very well explained in the Buddha's teachings? It's not just a simple word, impermanence. It has a very broad meaning, and it covers a whole area of dependent origination and cause and effect mechanism. That's the main thing. So then, meditating in this way, he does not grasp at anything in the world. And Buddha teaches here, not grasping, he is not anxious. Not being anxious, he personally becomes extinguished. That's beautiful. Aparitasaṅ paccataṅ eva parinibbāyati. He personally becomes extinguished. He understands, kina jati. Rebirth is ended. See the answer. See the solution for the problem. The solution has come now. When will we have that solution? We don't know. Usitam brahmacharyam, the spiritual journey has been completed. Okay, no more. There is nothing more to do now. Like, journey has been, spiritual journey has completed. What kind of journey we are in? We are in a samsaric journey. But the person who understands this has completed the spiritual journey. What is the spiritual journey? Journey of the Noble Eightfold Path. That path has been fully followed. Very beautiful. Kataṁ karaniyam. What had to be done has been done. So there is an end to this practice. Many activities in our life, there is no end. People die unsatisfied, Buddha said. People die unsatisfied with unfinished business. But the practice of Noble Eightfold Path is going to be completed one day. All our effort, the striving, all these struggles to achieve the completion of the Noble Eightfold Path. There is an end. That's a beautiful thing to think. Because in some things in our life, when we see that there is no end, it makes us very stressful. But this has an end. That's the good news. Nāparang itatthayati pajanati. He understands there is no more rebirth or return to any state of existence. No more journey. That is how I briefly define a monk who is freed through the ending of craving, who has reached the ultimate end, the ultimate sanctuary, the ultimate spiritual life, the ultimate goal, and is best among gods and humans. He is the best person among gods and humans because he has ended rebirth. Even those mighty, powerful gods, Brahmas, powerful humans, popular people, famous people, they are not best among gods and humans. Why? Because they continue this journey from life to life. In one life, he is a human. Another life, he is a hungry ghost. And another life, he is an animal. Another life, he is a god. He is a hell being. How come becomes the best among gods and humans? The one who has stopped the journey of rebirth is the best among gods and humans. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So all the Arahants are best human beings, right? They are best among gods and humans. So this is the explanation from the Buddha, and there is a beautiful, nice story after that, and we can learn that in the next Deep Dhamma class. There's an interesting thing. Moggallana Bhante is going to check God Sakha's Dhamma knowledge and his memory of Dhamma. And so we're going to learn more about that later. So that is about how this Vipassana knowledge about arising and passing away, and how that knowledge and wisdom all the way leads to the end of rebirth and end of suffering.
In the one sutta defining the mendicant who's freed through the end of craving, he uses the phrase "nothing is worth insisting on." Maybe just talk a little bit more about that phrase. If sounds important.
Yeah. So nothing is worth of insisting on means when he understands the everything of everything, the arising and passing away. That's what he is going to understand. If things are always coming and going, so what is the point of trying to hold on to a thing, because you are going to eventually fail.
So it's sort of like accepting the reality of things.
Correct.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you, Bhante.
Good.
Bhante, when the Buddha say, when in the independent origination talking about not clinging, and the teaching of the Buddha is development of the four dry striving, and one of them is like develop what is good and what is wholesome, and then abandon what is unwholesome. So I'm just thinking, if we abandon that as well, abandon the striving and not clinging to our good sila, how can we ever
Yeah,
how can
yeah,
we
I
do
understand.
that without bypassing this life? Thank
Yeah,
you,
I
Bhante.
understand the question. So in the 4 types of right striving, there is one, the effort to develop wholesome qualities and to effort to abandon unwholesome qualities. And so that is a good effort. That is it's totally effort. It's nothing to describe as clinging there. But when it comes to clinging, upadana, it's always on the negative side. Clinging, Buddha doesn't talk there about clinging to positive things. It's about clinging to negative things. And how do we understand? Because Buddha describes about clinging. There are 4 types of clinging, and you will realize all the 4 types of clinging are negative. Not a single one of them is positive. And what are those 4 types of clinging? Kama upadana, clinging to worldly pleasures. Ditti upadana, clinging to wrong views. Silabbata upadana, clinging to wrong rites and rituals, meaningless rites and rituals and observances. Clinging to, next one is attavad upadana, clinging to the notion of self. Do you see anything positive here? All negative. So when Buddha talks about clinging, it's always about clinging to these negative things. And did Buddha include clinging to sila here? No. Buddha always appreciated practicing precepts because it's a positive thing. But these 4 types of clinging are always negative. And they are the ones that lead to the arranging of karma, because upadana bhav, dependent on clinging, karma arises. So the effort to develop sila, effort to develop wholesome qualities, no need to have any fear. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante.
The desire to do good things is nothing to do with attachment and clinging, because attachment, clinging, all those things are on the negative side.
This reminds me of something I read this week in regards to a sutta with the blind man in ignorance be giving a dirty cloth and using that cloth, and also be giving his eyes back and sees the dirty cloth. My question is, who is the person that gives the person the dirty cloth, and that what is the enemy there that gives that dirty cloth for ignorance?
Who gave the dirty cloth is the ignorance of the person.
Of your mind, like of your consciousness?
No, the ignorance, not knowing the Four Noble Truths, is the enemy. That enemy gave you the dirty cloth, and that enemy prevents you from seeing the truth.
Yes, Bhante. Today we talk about feelings, origin of feelings, very clear. Buddha says about if the mendicant or the person approves, welcomes, enjoys, keeps clinging. So now we know that we should abandon this. Okay. Now I recall there was a time that we talked about feelings as well, Bhante. And Bhante mentioned about feelings are always there. So we have to recognize it, but we have to be mindful, okay, in treating it. So Bhante, could you please elaborate more on how to be mindful in recognizing feelings?
Yeah, we can. There is a beautiful sutta about being mindful of recognizing the feelings. Name of the sutta is Malum Ke Putta Sutta.
Yeah, and one of the suttas, I guess you were talking about painful feelings and the different types of negative mind states associated with painful feelings, and that was made a lot of sense. And I guess we can imagine the negative mind states associated with pleasant feelings. Could you say something about the negative mind states associated with neutral feelings?
Oh, that's a difficult question. Definitely, we can think that there are negative mental states associated with the neutral feeling, because Buddha said that already there is underlying tendency of ignorance towards neutral feelings. So if there is underlying tendency to ignorance, avijjanusaya, towards the neutral feeling, definitely we know that it's not on the positive side already, right? So I think there is one sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, Vibhangavagga Salhayatana Vibhanga Sutta. I think that's the name of the sutta. So in that sutta, Buddha explains the neutral feeling of an ignorant person does not go beyond the visual object. It does not go beyond the sound. It does not go beyond the smell. Doesn't go beyond the taste. Doesn't go beyond the tangible. And there is some kind of explanation there about the drawbacks of not understanding the neutral feeling as it really is. So definitely there are negative consequences of not realizing the reality of neutral feeling. It also should, it's very obvious that the true nature of the neutral feeling also should be fully realized. We can learn more about the Salayatana Vibhanga Sutta. It's a very profound sutta again. Yeah, so
Thank you, Bhante.
We can learn more about the neutral feeling and how it damages our journey.
Right, and how to recognize them.
How to recognize them as well.
Right. Thank you, Bhante.
For now, whatever is not categorized as pleasant and painful, you categorize it as neutral.
Can I ask Bhante about this anusaya, the underlying tendency? Is it because we don't have, we are ignorant? That's why we have this anusaya. And also, is this anusaya, does it come from our past life? Like it's from life to life? We always have this anusaya, Bhante?
Yeah, we don't know when we started this samsaric journey. We cannot say the underlying tendency did not exist until this point, and beyond this point, the underlying tendency started to come with us. We cannot say like that. Underlying tendency was always there. If there is the continuation of existence, continuation of the cycle of birth and death, the underlying tendency is always there.
So the main cause, Bhante, is because of this avidya, the ignorance.
Avidya. Main cause is not realizing the Four Noble Truths.
Thinking about what Rob was asking about the neutral feeling, is it the boredom is kind of a neutral feeling, something? Getting bored?
No, it's clearly a painful feeling.
It's painful.
Do you feel like you feel something there, right? Like Unpleasant?
Sometimes boredom is, there's no feeling, but they like don't know what to do or something. Just plain. It's very plain. But I feel like it's a negative feeling. We want to come
If it
out
is
of
negative.
it. We want to come out of it.
Yeah, if it is negative, it is painful. Oh, I will tell you an example. Okay, there's a beautiful flower on the left side. What kind of feeling arises? Pleasant feeling.
Pleasant feeling. Yes.
Right? And there is a dead body on the right side. What kind of feeling arises?
Some fear, negative feeling.
Unpleasant feeling.
Unpleasant.
Huh? Painful, unpleasant. There is a white wall in the front. What kind of feeling?
It's empty.
That is
plain.
neutral. That's neutral feeling. There is contact there. There is eye contact there. There is the union of eye, the visual object, which is the wall, white wall, and the eye consciousness. So definitely there is a feeling there, and that is a neutral feeling. Example for neutral feeling. You listen to a nice music, your favorite song. What kind of feeling?
It's a pleasant feeling.
You hear the words of somebody insulting you. What kind of feelings?
Yeah, unpleasant.
Unpleasant feeling. And you are just sleeping there and you hear people are talking about their own business, own things. What kind of feeling?
It's a neutral.
Neutral feeling. So
Yeah,
those kind of examples.
But boredom is unpleasant.
It falls in that category, right?
Mm.
The important thing is here that even though we feel like we are not carried away by neutral feeling as it does with the pleasant and unpleasant feelings, we cannot just ignore the neutral feeling. We cannot desire to live in the neutral feeling because it's still conditioned by the dependent origination. And if something is conditioned by the dependent origination, and it leads to the continuation of samsara.
My question is now, with the feeling right now, are we talking about the mental feeling or the physical feeling? Because like for example, like when we see something with the eye, right? There's no physical feeling, it's all mental. But for example, like if you feel something on the body, right? There's both a physical feeling as well as a mental feeling that's coming after that. So is there like a...
Remember one sutta I took, and there you see all types of feelings, physical and mental. I will tell you the difference. And there are different Pali names for physical and mental feelings. So here, I need the Pali. The first feeling is Sukhindriya. Sukhindriya is the bodily pleasure. The second one is Dukkhindriya. Dukkhindriya is the bodily pain. Third one is Somanasindriya. Somanasindriya means mental happiness. Domanasindriya means mental pain. You already see four types of feelings here. So the main two types of feelings are divided into four here. What are the main two? Sukha and dukkha. Happiness and pain. And now happiness and pain are divided into four here. Mental happiness, physical happiness. Physical pain, mental pain. And whatever neutral feeling is born in relation with any of these mental and physical feelings are categorized as Upekkindriya. So all the feelings are included, all the bodily and mental feelings are included in these five faculties. Sukhindriya, Dukhindriya, Somanasindriya, Domanasindriya, and Upekkindriya. Is that clear?
Yes, Bhante, very clear. Thank you.
Good, good. Okay. That is the amazing wisdom of the Supreme Buddha, and there is nothing lacking. There is nothing for us to add. Everything is very well proclaimed. Swakhato Bhagavata Dhamma. Buddha's teachings are very well proclaimed. So we all learned those well proclaimed teachings of the Buddha. Today, we went for refuge to the Triple Gem, observed precepts, practiced Samatha Vipassana meditation, and listened to the deep Dhamma taught by the Supreme Buddha. We share all the merit, first of all, with our teacher, Lokuswami Mahansi. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We share all the merit with all the Mahasangha around the world. Sadhu, sadhu. We share merit with all the divine beings. Sadhu. We share merit with our parents, teachers, family members, sons, daughters, friends, all the Kalyanamitas and all beings around the world. May all of them enjoy long life, good health, happiness, and peace. Sadhu.